Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I concern myself with great matters, nor with things too profound for me. Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. As a matter of fact, this kind of status is our best status. Having milk like the child who's being breastfed by a mother, and sleeping in a cozy bosom of a mother. We are weak. David, when he was ruling the nation as a king, in the midst of the great glory, he wrote Psalms 39. There he says, Lord, make me to know my end, and what is the measure of my days, that I may know how frail I am. This verse is related to life. Our lives are as small as our palms. Human lives are nothing before the Lord. It's too short. David is asking God, God, please let me know my weakness. Please help me recognize myself as a weak man. Do you really think he did not know that? Oh, life is short. Among 150 Psalms, David wrote nearly half of them, right? He wrote nearly half of them. However, he's asking God to please let him know how frail he is and how weak he was. Do you think he did not have that knowledge of himself? It's not like, God, I do not know, so please tell me. It's not that. But what David asked for here is the right attitude of not forgetting how weak he is and maintaining that lifestyle and mindset. It's not like asking, God, I don't know, so please tell me. If we misinterpret the passage, we may understand it wrongly. It is easy to know this kind of stuff. Oh, life is short. We can calculate that. About 70 years, multiply 365, right? How many days, how many months? It's really easy to calculate. Life is short. The unbelievers know that too. But the problem is, you say life is short, but do you really live your life with that mindset? You say life is short, but you live as if you're going to live forever. So David asking God, Lord, make me to know my end, and what is the measure of my days? So this is not a question coming from his ignorance. Rather, it means understanding that life is short and living with that mindset. I can die today. Life and death are just one step away. I can die anytime. I am such a weak person. Living life with that understanding and maintaining that same mind, that was what David wanted and asked for. We cannot control someone's life. We cannot govern life. Who can do that? No one can do that. We are just so weak. Do I know when will I die? No one knows that, right? No one can escape from wars. Evildoers cannot prosper at the end of the day. Everyone is just so weak. And we don't have any power or ability. By worrying and concerning, can you change things? No matter how much we worry about something, we cannot change a single thing. If we could change things based on our worries and concerns, then everyone will have to spend their time worrying all the time. But that is not the case. But still, we cannot escape from the worries of life, right? You're still in the worries of life. No man can save himself. The king, the emperor who conquered the great amount of lands, they died because of the mosquito bites. How weak are we? Humans are weak existence. Humans and all the other living things of the world are under the boundary that God has set, and we must acknowledge this. And acknowledging this could be difficult. Why? Because I may experience a loss. And things may be different from what you thought. And it may be different from your standard. In Nehemiah chapter 9, there's a passage like this. You alone are the Lord. You have made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their host, the earth and everything on it, the seas and all that is in them. And you preserve them all. The host of heaven worships you. God created all. But not only that, but also He manages and controls them. That is why we can live and survive. It's not like after creation He just completely stepped away from our matters, but He manages till today and until the end. Then how can we be stronger before this mighty God? Us who are weak, we cannot live a Christian life in the weak status. By getting damages here and there, we must be stronger. Then how can we become stronger? The right method in faith is by discovering your weakness. By discovering my weakness. Oh, I'm not really good at this. I'm actually bad at that. That is the way to be free from the things of the world. But the method of the world is concealing your weakness and covering your weakness as if you're strong. That is the method of the world. That form of the world resembles Adam and Eve trying to cover their shame with fig leaves. It's just a mere covering and concealing. That is not a way to become stronger. As men of God, we must take God's method. And what is that method? That is the whole armor. In Ephesians chapter 6 that talks about it, right? Put on the whole armor. Take the whole armor, Bible says. The method of us being strong is not the method of the world. We have the method of God. Just one more. Christian life is getting smaller and smaller and in the end, disappearing. Christian life is not about getting bigger. The reason why I said it's all about getting smaller and in the end disappearing is because it's based on 1 Chronicles chapter 15 verse 9. It says, for I am the least of the apostles. Paul said this. But in Ephesians chapter 3 verse 8, Paul says, to me who am less than the least of all the saints. He humbled himself more than the least of all the saints. He humbled himself a lot. Right before his death in 1 Timothy chapter 1, he says, I am the chief of sinners. He straight up said he's a chief of sinners. So the Christian life is not getting bigger as time goes by, but it's other way around. While meditating on these, I told myself as well, I must be smaller. I must get smaller. I must entrust my burden to Him more and confess my weakness more. So whenever I pray in the morning, for half of the prayer, I spend time praying for myself. Half for myself and the other half for the other things. I confess my weakness. Also the things that I want to do but I'm not capable of. And the dark things in my heart as well. I try to confess as much as possible. Apostle Paul became smaller and smaller. I am the least of all the apostles. That is being really humble, right? But if you really think about it, not so many apostles can be compared with Paul. He wrote 14 books in the Bible, including Hebrews. And who else went on the mission trip as many as Paul did? And who else in the Bible lived a life that resembled Jesus this much? He lived a really difficult life. But how is he introducing himself? I am the least of all the apostles. I'm no one to be an apostle. I'm the smallest. He was so humble. But as time went by in Ephesians, he introduces himself how? Less than the least of all the saints. He became even smaller. In 1 Timothy chapter 1, he introduces himself as a chief of sinners. If we sleep on the ground, then there's no worries to fall, right? But if we sleep on the bed, we may fall. So the higher you're at, the more damage you'll get if you fall. Ground is the best spot to stay at. And that is the Christian life, I think. We always try to go up, right? Certain position at the church or certain ministries at church. I want to be acknowledged by others and get glory from men. That's what we want, right? Oh, that brother is amazing and that sister is so faithful. We want that kind of acknowledgement from others, but I really think that attitude is not quite helpful. The strength God talks about is the strength that's coming from our weakness. In Paul's case, being weak is being Paul himself, and being strong is when people see God through him. So he who is weak is Paul. Paul is weak, but he did this great work. He recorded 14 books in the Bible. He went to the first and second, third mission trip, and some say he also went to Spain to preach the gospel. But Paul, who is weak, how was he able to do all these great works of God? He was strong. He was actually strong, but that strength is not from Paul himself. Likewise us. Why can't we be strong like Paul? Why? Because our flesh is stronger. Because our flesh is prevailing. God cannot be shown through us. It's not the possession in the world that makes you strong. Being strong is possible when you're truly connected to God. Think about John the Baptist. People asked him, "Who are you? Are you a prophet?" No. People said, "Who sent you? Tell us so we can greet the one who sent you to us. Who are you?" What did John say? "I am the voice in the wilderness. I am the voice." Who are you? I'm the voice. We must be smaller. Only Jesus has to be the most precious in our lives. So me getting smaller means Jesus getting bigger in me. But me getting bigger means Jesus getting smaller in me. Jesus must be bigger in our hearts and our lives. To do so, I must get smaller. So what is Christian life? It's getting smaller.